Well, looks like I'm live. Might have been a little delay on that. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another installment of my medieval Lord of the Rings series. As you can see, I drew Merry in the last one, and now I'm going to draw Pippin. So that's why this looks kind of odd. His cloak's kind of cut off right there because he's actually leaning on Pippin. So before I draw Pippin's head, I'm going to draw Merry's hand. And I know it's a Monday night. I don't know if I'm going to get anybody in the chat tonight, but I can always hope because there's not a lot to tell about Pippin. He's the youngest of the four hobbits that's part of the, I guess what's called the Company of the Ring. My pen's pretty dry right now. That's the thing about a dip pen. It needs to get warmed up a little bit. It's not right out of the gate that it's firing on all cylinders. There we go. Yeah, so he's the youngest, and you can kind of tell. I guess he's the most immature one, maybe. But that changes through the course of the book and the three movies. He actually becomes quite a leader. He comes from a noble family, I guess, as far as hobbits go. His dad is what's referred to as a thane, I suppose, which I guess is a nobleman. I think he's part of the landed gentry in the Shire. And again, this is all stuff that I just looked up. I'm not pretending to be a Tolkien historian here. I am not one of those. But I can't always talk about my life and politics and the weather and things like that. So I'm actually going to have to come prepared every once in a while. So I did actually look up some stuff before I got on. I'll try and recount it here for you all. Yeah, his dad was a thane, I think it's what it's called. So a nobleman of sorts. And on my my short video that was a compilation of my last live video where I was drawing Merry, I had mentioned the geography of the Shire where Merry is from. He's from the eastern part of the Shire that borders the old forest. And some people kind of consider the people who live in that part of the Shire to be kind of country folk, kind of hillbillies. And Pippin's from the opposite part. He's from the western part, I think. And people can correct me if I'm wrong here on the chat, but I think that's what it is. And obviously, Merry and Pippin are cousins. So in addition to being very good friends, they are related. I think I read that on their mom's side. And of course, where was I going to go with that? Of course, these two are always seen together until they're not. Because actually, for a decent amount of the book and the movie, they are separated. They are captured by orcs. And then they're captured by orcs. after Boromir gets killed, and then they escape and they go into the realm of Treebeard, right? And they get the Ents to revolt against Saruman. Very exciting stuff. As I'm sure you can tell in my voice right now, I'm very, very excited. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I don't have a lot of the enthusiasm that I normally have today. Sometimes even your hobbies are a job. It's not to say that I don't like to do this. I do like to do it, but it is a Monday night, and I do have an actual job that's not this. So sometimes I'm kind of tired. And today is one of those days. So if anyone is out there who wants to give me something to talk about, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on rambling about Pippin in a way that's probably not very entertaining. So he got captured, right? Him and Merry got captured by the orcs, and they got the Ents to fight against Saruman and Isengard. So that was great. And yeah, I think Pippin he did two things here. He did two major things that really are his claims to fame, and not in a good way, just kind of showcasing his mischievous, kind of naive, young nature. The first of which is when they're in the halls of Moria. He's the one who dropped the stone. I think in the books it's a stone. He dropped a stone into the well that made a crashing noise. And in the movies, he dropped like a dead, what are those things called? Gremlins? That's not it. That's not it. Those things in the halls of Moria. Not the trolls. The trolls are too big. They were little gremlins, but they aren't called gremlins. Someone can help me out with that. What are they called? So yeah, he set up all the action that ultimately led to Gandalf becoming Gandalf the White, because that's how all the stuff happened, and how the Balrog came to find them. And then that is, of course, what made Gandalf turn from the gray to the white. So he kind of unintentionally set that off. And I even think that there's a line in the book from Gandalf who says something along the lines of, oh, and maybe it has to do with the Ents, that Merry and Pippin were like the first stones to cause an avalanche or something along those lines. So just, tiny, unassuming little creatures can make big changes. And they did. They were very important characters to kind of counterbalance the other more heroic characters, even though they were heroic too. They were heroic in their own way, but they were almost like the kind of the literary counterweight. I don't even know what you'd call that. I don't want to call them court gestures or comic reliefs, because they were more than that. They were actually critical in some ways. So other than setting off all of the little gremlins, I know they're not called gremlins. Whatever those things were in the halls of Moria, those little things. He also, after Isengard, he's the one who looked through the orb. What is that called? Is that called a paladin, or is it palantir? Like Peter Thiel? Like, I know that all those guys name all their stuff after Lord of the Rings things. What are those orbs called? Paladins, or is it seeing? They call them seeing stones. I'm not even gonna pretend that I know. Let's just call them seeing stones. That sounds good. So he was the one who looked in the seeing stone when he wasn't supposed to. So another act of mischief that unintentionally set the course for much greater events. So ultimately, him and Mary got separated at this point. Mary going to Rohan and joining with that group and helping to get Wormtongue out of the picture and Saruman out of control of Theoden, the king of Rohan. So he was around for that. Whereas Pippin went to Gondor and swore his allegiance to not the usurper of the throne, the what's it called? Denethor, the steward of the throne. So he wasn't a usurper. He was just watching over it. He didn't steal it. He was watching over it until the rightful king, who of course would be Aragorn, would come back. And so Pippin became he swore his allegiance to Denethor and became a guard of the Citadel, which is kind of hilarious, right? Because even though him and Mary would be the tallest hobbits of all time because they ate some of Treebeard's stuff. Some special root, right? Is that what happened? I know that they ate something when they were with Treebeard, and it made them the tallest hobbits of all time. They grew unnaturally tall for hobbit. And Pippin was also the guy who saved Boromir's brother, Faramir. Saved Faramir, that's right, because Denethor was losing his mind, and he was about ready to set his son on fire, who he thought was killed in battle. And Pippin tried to stop him, but of course he couldn't because he's just a little hobbit. So he was the one who alerted Gandalf, who was fighting in the battle of the Minas Tirith, Pelennor Fields, right? And then, of course, Gandalf was able to save Faramir from getting burned alive. And then Denethor dropped to his death, which was a very dramatic scene in the movie. Yes. And then, of course, I don't think that... No, this isn't in the movies, but it's in the books. Pippin names his son later in life Faramir, because he has such an allegiance to that family. And he actually gets made a Knight of Gondor, or something along those lines. He gets... Ultimately, he comes back after the story of... Okay, how can I put this? He comes back, and I think I talked about this in one of my shorts. Saruman has been up to no good in the Shire while these guys were destroying the ring. And Merry and Pippin are two of the leaders in getting all of these ruffians led by Saruman out of the Shire. And it culminates into something called the Battle of Bywater. And yeah, Merry and Pippin were kind of the leaders in that, I think. So he's a real hero. I know he seems like a goofy guy, but he's a pretty big deal as far as hobbits go. And like I said, he comes from a noble family, and he would end up taking over for his father to be the what is that thing called? There's just so many terms, and if you don't spend your whole life studying this, you just don't even know. And I'm just kind of reading something real quick before I do one of these live streams, and it doesn't help that I'm tired and drawing at the same time. So he took his father's place as this leader, this lord, and then after his service, he did that for a number of years, maybe decades. Him and Merry, I think, both went and left the Shire, and ultimately they settled in Gondor. And they were buried in Gondor. They were buried with Aragorn. In, I guess what you'd call, I don't know, like, man, I am having real struggle thinking right now. What's it called? The where we bury all the soldiers in Washington D.C. Well, basically, he ended up in that place in Gondor's equivalent of that place. So he had high honors. Good for him. And I once again had to change my settings here to make everything black and white and high contrast because it's night out right now. And I have a desk lamp illuminating this drawing, but it's all I got. I don't have a super professional setup here, guys. I don't know if you could tell. I am using a dip pen, so I mean, how professional does it need to be? So that's why I'm in black and white, if you see my finger. Yeah, this is going to be a quiet chat tonight, I can tell. But even if I don't do a lot of talking, maybe actually the talking is a deterrent for people to watch. Maybe they're just like, I don't really want to listen to this guy. I want some calming ASMR drawing. And boy, would that make my life easier. I could just shut up and put the microphone on the camera and you could hear the scratching of the pen. And I see all kinds of videos do that, and people seem to like that. You'll still hear my nose whistling because I'm all stuffed up. I don't know how people do that. Do ASMR videos where everything's perfect and they hear the clink of the pen and the ink and everything else, and they don't hear the clearing of throat and the whistling of nostrils and all that. I should take notes. Let's see. I'm happier with Pippin's face than I am Merry. I think I was trying to make Merry look a little too much like a medieval kind of stereotypical face rather than looking like a portrait, where I think I made Pippin look more like how he actually looks as a character rather than just, a medieval kind of woodcut stereotype. Ultimately, I'm trying to do both. I want them to look like him, but also like a medieval version of him. So if I can do that, then that'd be great. That'd be great. What do you think? Do you think we'll finish tonight? I might run off the paper here. He might get a little thinned out here. His cloak might be a little thin. Let's see here. Oh, it's kind of hard to see the sleeves here. It's a little dark. The folds. I really hate doing clothing. I really hate doing folds, and I'm sure everyone feels that way. I'm sure most artists hate doing folds, but there's probably some freaks out there who love doing folds of clothing. And you're sick people. Don't ask me why. If it were up to me, I would just draw faces. I would never draw bodies ever. Bodies are hard to do, especially if you have to make them up. That's why I could never be a comic book artist. Well, never say never. I mean, I suppose I could if I practiced enough, but I can't just make up figures and pose them and be anatomically correct. And for the people who can do that, it's real talent. Got a real gift. I hope I don't lose the medievalness of this. I don't want to draw it too scratchy. After all, I gotta cut this thing, so I can't get too fancy with the line work here and make it too stipply, because I'm never gonna cut it like that. Nope. Well, even if these live videos are super boring and dull, they still serve the ultimate purpose of filming this process from start to finish, because I'm going to make my first full process video here of one of these. And I'm going to edit that down into like a 10 or a 20-minute video, and hopefully that'll be better, and I can just, all the pressure will be off, all the raw footage will be there, and I'll just talk over it and give commentary and, have prepared remarks made, unlike the ramblings that occur during these live broadcasts. It's a lot more, I don't know, sometimes the live broadcasts are the most fun. Really, the most tedious, boring stuff is doing editing, cutting up clips. That is really tedious sometimes. So, yeah, maybe I'm not great at doing live broadcasts, but oh, that'd be so great if I never had to do an edited video again and I could just get all the views on YouTube from doing these live videos. That'd be awesome, especially if I had people to talk to, because then maybe I could come up with some interesting things to say. But then again, maybe I wouldn't. Yeah, okay. Not too bad. Things are falling into place pretty nicely, which you never know with these things. You start out with the head and you don't even really have a rough pencil sketch of the body, so you're like, am I going to be able to fit both these guys perfectly onto a sheet of paper without really, giving myself any guidelines? And I'm not going to say I'm going to do this right every time, but I think he's going to fit on here. I'm just going to squeak by. Squeak by on this one. Yeah. Could probably mute my microphone now so I don't have to hold my breath so much. If anyone comes on the chat and wants to talk, I'll turn my mic back on, but I don't think I need to make you guys suffer hearing my nostrils whistle, so ta-ta. Alright, I'm turning on the microphone again because I think I'm done. Let's see here. Hopefully my camera will stay in focus here. Not too bad. What did that take? I've been doing this less than an hour. Okay. Obviously, I didn't draw the whole thing in an hour. But I did Pippin. That guy. And this is a 2-for-1 carving that I will be transferring. Maybe tonight. Who knows? I'm not going to transfer the block live because, I mean, who wants to see that? That's kind of boring. That's just me putting glue on a piece of linoleum or wood and printing this out and sticking it to it. That's all that is. So, I mean, you know, I think I was kind of losing steam towards the end of this drawing. That's why it's always a good idea to start out with the face first. Because if you feel like you're kind of tired, you're going to get even more tired. And these feet look awfully tired. But it adds to the medieval charm, I guess, because if you look at a medieval woodcut, the anatomy's doing all kinds of funky things. So not bad. And, you know, I may choose to keep some of these lines in, and I may choose to omit others. So this is it. This is Merry and Pippin. They're a package deal in this carving, unlike Frodo and Sam, who I did separately. So this one's going to take a while. I don't know how many lives I'm going to have to do to finish this thing off, but it's going to be an undertaking. Yeah. So I guess I'll just stop waving my notepad back and forth on the camera and bid you all a fine evening. Good night.